What about the argument that because of the expense of building these plants, they will drive up power bills?
No, again, and that's why we want to own it and control it. And that's where if the government has control over it, then we have greater capacity to reach in and making sure that we can manage the construction with these expert companies that have experience in making sure that we get this right. And that's also about making sure the planning's done efficiently and appropriately to drive down the costs. Because obviously if you take longer as well to get the planning approvals and get it moving, that adds to the costs as well. So that is the common sense solution that we're going to take to the Australian people. And if we're given a mandate, we expect cooperation from all levels of government, with unions and industry to get on with the job.
Let me play what you said during the week about the Coalition's plans in terms of large-scale wind farms and other renewables projects, and then what the opposition leader in the Senate, Simon Birmingham, said.
We don't need to go down an all-renewables approach. We've signed up to net zero by 2050, but we don't need a linear pathway to achieve that. We should have a mixture in our energy grid. We shouldn't put all our energy eggs into one basket and have an all-renewables approach.
There is absolutely a place for large-scale renewables as part of a technology-neutral approach in Australia. It's an important part of the mix that will help us to reduce our emissions over time.
You're at odds there, aren't you, Mr Littleproud?
Well, I don't know how. I don't know on what planet anyone would think we were. I've said that you wouldn't put all your energy eggs in one basket. So that does mean that we'll transition some of our coal to nuclear. We'll have gas with CCS. And there will be place for renewable energy, but not the scale that we're going down an all renewables approach. I actually clearly articulated
But he says there'll be large-scale renewables. You said there wouldn't be large-scale renewables, didn't you?
No, I've said we will avoid the need for as much and greater because we are going down an all renewables approach. That's just simple math. If you're going down an all renewables approach that this government is, but you have an alternative where you are simply going to take some of that and put it into baseload power generated through nuclear energy, then the math's pretty simple. You're not going to have as much large-scale renewable energy into the system. And what I've also gone on to say is what we should explore is try to give energy independence to households and business where it's possible and piggyback off what states are doing by putting renewable energy on an environment it can't destroy, which is on rooftops, and whether that's supporting batteries, because what we're experiencing and the real life experience that I'm experiencing here is you're seeing your fellow Australians' livelihoods being torn up because of this ideological view of an all renewables. All we've got is transmission lines, solar panels and wind turbines taking up our productive landscape, tearing up remnant vegetation. And what we don't count, just because the Teals and Labor think that we should go down this linear pathway of an all renewables approach, don't your fellow Australians count? And I just say we seek to understand those Teal members of Parliament, but they should seek to understand us of the burden they're asking regional Australians to bear. I mean, it is so entitled for them to look down their nose, dripping with self-righteous sanctimony,
all right,
saying this
we're
is
nearly
the
out
only
of time.
pathway.
You're on quite the role about you're on quite the role about the Teals there, but we're nearly out of time. Look, there is more of this coalition energy policy, I understand, to come. Does that include money for solar subsidies for people who put solar panels on their roofs?
Yeah, well, look, obviously we're exploring all the options in terms of everything outside nuclear, because if you change the mixture of the grid, then obviously that pathway has to be credible, and that also includes a lot of gas to be put in with carbon capture storage in the right place. But we'll be unveiling exactly how we intend to get there and the mechanisms and the costs of which to achieve that. That's as we've demonstrated. We've shown courage of our conviction. We're going to continue to be upfront and honest.
So possible solar subsidies?
Identified two places. I'm not putting any possibilities in or out. No scoop today, mate, but what I will do is say that we will make sure that we responsibly look at all the options to protecting our agricultural land, but understanding renewables will play a role, that gas will have to play a role, the carbon capture storage, but so too with coal and nuclear being in a transition phase.
All right, just finally, two-pronged question. What do you make of the way the government's played this in terms of some of the things on social media government backbenchers have posted, and In response, I guess, what do you make of Peter Dutton calling the PM a child in a man's body? Do you agree?
Well, I do, and unfortunately the Prime Minister had an opportunity to lead and to look at this and work through the issues that we're putting forward and saying, well, if there's an alternative, here's ours. But instead he's used some churlish view to put out memes. When he is leading this country and he's about to put Australian submariners and lie and sleep them next to this technology every night, why would you demean it in such a puerile way when this is safe technology? And if that's the only a rebut he's got to our energy policy, then I would have thought a Prime Minister should be above that. And if that's all he's got, he's not fit to be Prime Minister. And unfortunately, I think all he's done is diminished the office of Prime Minister, and he's diminished himself while sitting in it.
Well, it's certainly going to be a rough and tumble election campaign, judging by the events of the past few days. David Littleproud, thanks so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.